Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Lonely Wrist. Today, we have the duo from VIEREN, Jess Chow, Sunny Fong. Welcome to the episode.
Hi.
Hey guys, thanks for having us.
Welcome, guys.
Tell us about, first of all, how you two met. I'm curious because Jess, I did read a little bit about you, and your parents were in the industry. Sunny, Project Runway, Renner. Can I talk? Project Runway, Winner, and fashion designer. So how did you guys get connected?
Yeah, so before we started VIEREN, I was actually in the business realm. I was a management consultant for over 10 years, working at an agency and, grinding down and kind of always advising and building brands for other people. And after I kind of turned 30, I had a little bit of a self-realizing moment where, I really want to kind of reconnect with things that made me who I am. And, watches is such a part of my childhood. And at the time, Sunny was also working there, and I was kind of sharing my passion for watches. And he actually shared a personal story about watches himself.
Yeah, I was taking a little hiatus in fashion. I just needed a little break just to clear my mind and my creativity. And that's when I met Jess, and she told me "Oh, my family's in watches," and I'm like, "Oh, I would love to design a watch and really bring that sort of design forward." I was telling her after I turned 40, I started wearing my dad's automatic watch again, just to really keep me motivated, keep me going. Because the idea was if I didn't wear it, time would stop. So I really wanted to bring back, the timepiece. And I started wearing my dad's watch all the time. And I showed Jess and I told her my story. And then she somehow, all together, it just magically happened that, we're doing this.
Yeah, it was
awesome.
just so beautiful that, a timepiece could actually be used as inspiration for you to get out there and for motivation. And, we kind of wanted to bring that story back, but in our modern and more unique way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sunny, comparing fashion to the jewelry and watch industry, I'm sure that's been a challenge because, you talked about it, Jess. Fast fashion is everywhere.
Yes.
There's a really small cycle of fashion trends versus now if you look at watch brands that are digging back into the 40s, 50s, 60s archives and they're reviving these vintage designs and those are what people are into. So, Sunny, I'm assuming it seemed like it was an easy transition looking through your portfolio. Would you?
It is in a way, in terms of design. I love design in every facet. So for me, I was really excited to be in the watch industry just to bring back that energy. That I grew up with watches, it having that sort of design forward, that really sort of everything was very bespoke and very individual. Each brand had its own identity. And with myself in design, I've always loved that idea that I never was part of fast fashion. I always wanted to create items that people accented their wardrobes with. And this was the same philosophy I wanted to bring forward with our timepieces. I didn't want it to be a mass-produced brand. I wanted every single design to be, a small edition where it only really speaks to an individual.
Really a collector's item.
Yeah.
Yep, I like that aspect of it too. I'm a musician, if you can't tell already, and I feel like everybody in their own place kind of gets that in that way burnout, a writer's block sort of thing. Even with design or music or photography or whatever the case. And it's kind of cool that you've transitioned that into a completely different facet, and then kind of rekindled this love for this is something new and unique, and you're doing something that's like you said, limiting these releases. I think it's really neat. So
and it allows me to be more creative as well, really
exactly
making sure that each one has its own personality.
I love that. So we know that you guys are kind of all in on the rectangular watches. We know that's sort of a big thing for you guys. What is it about that case shape that inspires you, compared to doing a traditional round style?
I mean, it goes back to like a timepiece that I got in my graduation. It was a rectangular case, and I've always loved that look. And even if you look in cinema, like every person who's wearing a watch is in a rectangular case. So I really wanted to celebrate that iconic shape and really set us apart from other brands. And I find like there's more sort of versatility with a rectangular case, and even a challenge to um, apply all the design ideas that I have into this shape.
Yeah, and I know Blake is a big fan of rectangular shapes as well. Um, when we were doing research, we noticed that there weren't a lot. And then we got into the engineering and manufacturing side, and we realized why. It's because they're incredibly difficult to engineer. The straight edges with the beveled curves, as well as the corners that have with the rectangular case, really takes a significant higher level of precision engineering. And then we also decided to then put an automatic movement in there, which tend to be thicker and larger as well. So we were super lucky to be able to actually collaborate, with a watchmaking studio directly in La Chaux-de-Fonds, Switzerland, where we were able to bespoke design every component of our watches. So being able to kind of bring that rectangular watch to life was really exciting.
Yeah.
A circle within a rectangle is the world that you guys live in. So I've done some homework, and it seems like you guys have a few kind of distinctive, I don't know, attributes. It seems like every single VIEREN is a limited edition, usually. Somehow you guys are still using ETA, because ETA has pretty much like shut down the whole industry, like letting them kind of weed on their own. So somehow you guys are still powering your movements from ETA, or your watches from ETA. And then of course the rectangle, right? And automatic, right? Yes. So I mean, every watch carries those same design principles. So obviously, Sunny, with your background and your inspiration of relying on your movement to power the watch, like, would you guys ever even consider going into battery powered watches or quartz watches?
I never say never to anything these days.
Okay.
But we are rooted in traditional watchmaking in Swiss savoir faire, and we really want to highlight this craft that is actually kind of going away these days. It's a bit of a dying craft, and we're really wanting to bring back that art and really celebrate the heritage behind that.
Let's focus our lens on you now, Jess. And so tell us about your parents. Tell us about the Geneva Watch Days. Where did your parents work? It seems like they met. Did they meet at Geneva Watch Days? Your parents? Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah. So both my mom and my dad kind of grew up with watches in different facets, and they both kind of worked for different companies across the board, from back end to front end. And my mom and my dad actually met at Baselworld.
Oh, okay.
Back when, yeah,
That's
in
awesome.
the 80s. So it's just interesting because I think I have a different kind of take on watchmaking. I really grew up kind of more behind the scenes, seeing how they were made, and smelling the oil and like hearing the machinery, and there's a romance kind of to that I really love. And I don't think a lot of people get to experience it. It's very behind the scenes, and so bringing that forward is something that we really want to celebrate. We even made kind of making a VIEREN series where we took people behind the scenes to our studio to really see how the rectangular case was made, how the Swiss components were assembled, to really hopefully celebrate and showcase this art.
A lot of entrepreneurs that we talk to have issues with like supply chain. Like supply chain is what drives the watch industry. It seems like you kind of through your family ties have bypassed a lot of the supply chain efforts. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think supply chain is a struggle across the board
sure.
these days. But I think being able to really deliver a quality product is something that we're really proud of. This is something that I feel like is building on our legacy. And so making sure that each piece is considered with thought and care, I think is something that hopefully makes us special.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're really lucky to have Jess's access with like Switzerland and getting everything Swiss made. I think that's like a piece that not everyone has access to. And for me, just to see all this in the making is really like eye-opening, and we really want to share that with the world.
I'm curious about we talked briefly about sustainability like before the podcast. You know, obviously you guys are trying to make a difference in the world. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we joke that with our automatic watch, it's kind of like the original Fitbit. One day when AI takes over the world, like you'll still have your automatic watch, right? And
maybe,
hopefully one of our VIERENs on your wrist. And so, sustainability is something that we really grew up with, and even down to our packaging is something that we consider. All of our watches get delivered in a watch stand, as well as a watch box set, something that you can actually showcase your watch at home. That's both functional as well as beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in my DNA, like form and function is always like very key. So when we designed our packaging, are like, oh, why are we just giving a regular cushion in a box? Like, why don't we make this more functional and it's shipped together in a watch box and a watch stand? And I think like for us, like even in our original DNA, thinking about like things lasting forever, like my dad's automatic watch being almost like 60 years old, and it's something I'm not going to throw it in the garbage. And like, this is one of those things that we want to make sure that our timepieces last as long as we do. So.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you guys have faced launching the VIEREN brand, and how did you overcome them? Because we know everybody has stories, everybody's got different challenges that they face, but we're curious to know, kind of what unique stories you guys have had.
Yeah, so VIEREN actually means celebrate in Dutch.
Okay.
We're really here about celebrating, and we love doing that, in person. We launched our brand in 2020, which is perfect timing for in-person events, right?
I wonder what happened.
I don't know, guys.
It was gap years.
They might have blacked it out, but we really shifted a lot more onto an online strategy. And I think with a luxury watch, being able to put it on your wrist is very different, and being able to get that feel. So we really doubled down on a lot of those efforts so that you can really see a lot of those bespoke details. And then when things opened back up, we were really excited to then really have these more curated, exclusive events where we could kind of showcase and bring our watches to life in a different way.
Mm-hmm. I think like for us, like our mentality was the show must go on. Like we pushed each other to really like get the ball rolling. We didn't wait, and we were really excited about having our timepieces out and really sharing it with the world. And now like everything's all open up. We really want to bring those sort of intimate moments back and really have people experience our timepieces on their wrist as opposed to a screen.
I think we took some creative approaches to that, in terms of different pop-ups. And we did one in New York at the time, and it was great to really introduce the brand to kind of the New York Soho crowd. And then later this year, actually in September, we're going to be doing a pop-up in our hometown of Toronto as well. First one back home where we can actually showcase to, our friends and family.
Would you say, I mean, obviously we've had a few other brands that got kind of stir crazy during COVID and built watch brands. Like, it just seems like it was the thing to do to build a watch brand during COVID. And particularly being based in Canada, like I flew from Istanbul and I flew through Toronto, and this was during COVID. And I had no intentions on entering Canada, but they wanted to like put me into like a quarantine hotel and like do all this. And I'm like, look, just arrest me. Like, I am not going to a quarantine hotel. I am trying to go home. I've been in Europe for 9 months. Let me go to America. That's home, And anyways, ironically, me and like seven other Americans were like, look, like we're not going to quarantine hotel. Like we have no intention on going into Canada. We just want to go home. And they locked like seven of us in a room, like with just a bathroom, until the next day, until we could fly out. So from what I've heard, like it was a lot tighter of a lockdown in Canada than here. And through my experience, I would say so as well. Um, would you say during that time it was an additional layer of complexity? Building the watch brand during COVID.
Oh, absolutely. I think that was one example that you highlighted, but I think there were many examples across the board. But challenges happen all the time, and I think that just forces you to be more creative, right? So the year we launched, there were restrictions. There was a maximum, I think, of 30 people, but then we designed a really curated launch party where we had specific seatings. We actually had the watches displayed. Do you want to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, we had like a situation where it was like there was a maximum like amount of people, everyone needed to be spaced out. So came up with the creative idea of like having a small little tasting menu of showing our watches on platters and really bringing it per table and everyone having their own experience with the watches within like it had to be like a capacity of 2 per table. So we did something really creative like that where we booked out a restaurant and really had like individual seatings and viewings of our tasting watch menu.
Yeah. That sounds kind of cool. And then meanwhile, in the back, you're just like scrubbing them down with like clog swipes. Like, all right, like here we go.
It was very successful. It really brought a sort of positive energy. I think people who showed up were really happy to be out and be surrounded with like minds and really being able to enjoy something that we worked really hard and show that like we're still going to plow through even tough times.
Yeah. I'm curious about the design philosophy. I mean, clearly, I would say like you have a very unique design language. I mean, you guys are giving a unique perspective to a very traditional form factor. How do you make your watches stand out in such a limiting form factor? I would consider it to be limiting, right? So.
Yeah, I know Sunny had to move from inches to millimeters as we go.
You're learning about tolerances now too, right, Sunny?
Yes. It used to be 1/4 inch tolerance. I can't do that in watchmaking. I mean, I think with my design philosophy, I think everything's in the details. Even with clothing, it's all about cut, it's about structure, it's about fit. I think applying that same sort of philosophy and DNA that I have into watchmaking. So when it comes down to like all the little details, luckily we have access to create all these details. For instance, in our watches, we have a gold rehaut ring. I think you can see the sort of gold highlight here. It has the minutes etched into it. So around the perimeter of our dial, you can see the minutes. And that's a little detail that we have in all our watches. I think when exploring sort of our core sort of design, I really thought about what are the things that will separate us from everybody else. And that will be uniquely us. So I really spent a lot of time doing a lot of research, finding how many little things I can sneak into the watch without it being overtly like terribly designed. So it's all about less is more, and then finding form and function of every little piece that is in our timepiece. And having, for instance, I wanted a matte black watch. We made sure it was DLC and everything was all the same color tone black and it's tone on tone. And I really wanted to sort of bring forward that modernist energy. And those are the things that speak loudly in very subtle ways.
Because we couldn't just buy black fabric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't use a canvas spray pen and do it. But these are the things that had to really work with our team in Switzerland to make sure that everything was 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand. I mean, prototype after prototype after prototype. You guys have to figure. We've talked to people that have like thousands and thousands of watches that just didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
But I'm curious now, since you're, I mean, what would you say your ratio of fashion and clothing to watch this? I mean, you're still designing clothes, I think, if I read correctly. So do you ever find yourself designing like an article of clothing and you're like, oh, like this is something that I picked up from designing watches?
I do actually. I mean, in term like I find myself actually designing watches. I find myself designing things with more angles, like figuring out how to create volume with a minimal like lines. So really, like there's a nice balance and influence in each different sort of design aspect. Fashion really influences my watchmaking and watchmaking design. Like I find a lot of inspiration through interiors as well. So really, I pull little pieces of everything that I see that has a moment of design in it, and I keep that stored and I put it forward in anything that I manifest.
Let's talk about the collection. Um, so obviously, is the OG, is that the original for you guys? I'm
You,
assuming.
you got it.
And then how did the collection grow from the OG? Like how did it progress to? I mean, because you guys have a pretty diverse collection. I would say there's a watch for everybody in here. Not a diamond guy, but I mean, there's something in here for everybody, I think. So how did the collection grow?
Yeah, so we started with the OG Automatic. We launched that in 2020, and that collection really was corely inspired by modernist architecture.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see those clean lines, Mies van der Rohe, some Louise Nevelson sculptures, a lot of kind of art influences.
So we took a lot of that modernist DNA in terms of clean line, less is more, form and function, and that really sort of established the shape of our case. Even having the lugs being angled inward towards the band, those are like all the considerations that I took influences from modernist architecture. What I really wanted to do was find out the solid foundation of our case and then really design everything from that foundation. Very much like architecture.
Yeah.
So we started with our matte white. I really wanted to channel that sort of blank canvas. Everything's tone on tone, and with that piece, everything sort of flourished in terms of like the matte black exploration with.
What if we made it all black?
Yeah, what if we made it all black with DLC? And then jokingly talking to the team, I'm like, oh, can we do something with a debossed pattern with black diamonds just to keep everything monochromatic? And the answer was yes. So really exploring all of these different facets and materials that I'm not very familiar with, but really having them, make these pieces and seeing them in person and wearing it on your wrist really just blew my mind and really created more ideas and really challenging the team.
Yeah, and I think as we continue to experiment with the OG Automatic collection, really it's Sunny's fashion DNA. There was a lot of leather. It was really a staple in fashion. We were like, let's reinvent the classic leather watch. What if we actually took the leather all the way through and actually had a leather dial? So, our Black Rock version actually extends the leather all the way through.
Oh, wow.
The band onto the dial, and it's real leather back there as well to resemble that of a leather cuff. And then you'll also kind of see the detail of the gold rehaut ring, which is kind of our signature along the piece there. So just really experimenting with color and materials.
Something that I don't think people realize is with a rectangle watch, like getting the lugs is like near impossible. And so obviously most rectangle watches, they have flat lugs, but you guys do not have flat lugs. So I know how challenging just getting the case shape, and
it started actually, with flat lugs.
And you're like, okay, this is not gonna work. No, just throw this away. And then do you guys have different sizes here? So are you guys just have one case and one case size, or do you guys have anything with smaller form factors or?
Yeah, right now we have the one case size, and it was very intentional.
I think one challenge that I really wanted to bring forward was this sort of unisex attitude. I really wanted to find the perfect size for both men and women's wrists. We had different challenges just because we also had like an automatic movement, and then Jess has the smallest wrist. So we were testing out different sizes just to find the perfect size that would translate well on most wrists around the world. Really trying to find the right materials and the right finishes that would translate with any wardrobe or any collection.
And yeah, I mean, rectangle cases is like hit or miss because like I do wear like a large tank and a medium reverso, but then like if you look at like Princess Diana also wore a large tank, you know, but then Muhammad Ali wore a medium tank, you know, like so like you have this weird kind of proportionate dysfunction in a weird way. So challengingly, it's a bold decision to just say, hey, look, here's the form factor for now.
I mean, I think I was told once, I'm like, watches have no gender. So we really didn't want to we really wanted to remove that and have it sort of designed for everyone. And really having the design itself speak to the individual.
Yeah, I was also snooping on Instagram and I saw that you guys had Sweetie repping your watch. I'm so curious as to how that all came together because the video is cool. Like she like gets this box and she opens it. She's like, oh, like what was that? I'm curious as to how logistically that all came together.
Man, everything was just kismet. We were so lucky with this opportunity with Saweetie. It was just honestly the perfect partnership for our brand. So, you know, we just launched the Stereo Collection, which is the newest one, and it's actually inspired by music. I know Justin's a big fan. And Studio 54 vibes. And earlier that year, we had launched our Gold Sunray and Gold Mirror editions that had like a skeletonized dial. They were all gold. And then we were planning to really launch our gold diamond series. And then we got this partnership with Saweetie, and it was actually her 30th birthday celebration.
Oh, cool.
And we were able to kind of gift her one of our gold diamond watches, which is representing Icy Girl perfectly. She loved the gift, of course, and we actually had Icy Girl custom engraved onto the watch stand in gold for her as well.
Nice.
And she got to kind of rock out and bling out with our latest collection.
Yeah.
Would you consider your so I find you guys kind of juggling like fashion and like luxury, right? I mean, because you know we have a lot of our audiences into micro. I mean, like we will drop a micro podcast and it'll get like double the amount of listeners as like having like Ulysse Nardon or something, you know, like a big brand, or Panerai, right? Oh shit, I think I put that out there too soon. But anyways, so would you consider yourselves kind of playing more in the fashion space or playing more in the watch space?
I think really we're at the intersection of those things. I think a lot of people want to kind of put us in a box in one place or the other. And I think we created the brand as an intersection of art and science. And I think that's what we would want to continue bringing. We will always have the highest level of design through kind of Sunny's perspective. And then we will also simultaneously deliver the highest quality and Swiss savoir-faire kind of through my expertise. So hopefully we can come together in a beautiful collaboration.
Who would you guys say is the ideal, you know, VIEREN customer? And how do you engage with your audience to ensure that like the brand, you know, resonates internally with them?
Yeah. Our customer is someone that is very savvy. They are educated, and they really are looking for those unique statement pieces that show off, you know, their personality and their design eye, right? What we've noticed is, you know, a lot of our customers are quite multifaceted. Like Sunny and I are multi-hyphenates. He's a fashion designer, he's a watch designer. He also cooks well. We do lots of different things. And I think
where's the closet full of hats?
exactly, right? And I think being able to bring, things that aren't just traditionally watches or traditionally fashion, and be able to bring inspiration from all of these different things is really what makes us a modern brand that is, forward looking and unique, hopefully.
Yeah, I think someone who knows watches and who's seeking something that has new energy. I think that's us. I don't come from a watch world. I come from design, and really trying to blend that and really capturing the sort of the heritage of watchmaking. Because I grew up with watches. I've seen the evolution, and I've also seen the standstill where it's just sort of the same stuff. And now there's this sort of heightened watch design energy now, which we really want to be part of and capture that energy again. So I think someone who wants that newness and who's willing to support new brands like us, who's bringing that same energy that we live for.
Yeah, and I did notice too. Like, you didn't tell me what type of rectangle watch your dad had. Was it what I think it is?
It was actually like I don't remember the brand, but it was.
You have it though. Come on.
My dad's automatic watch was not a rectangular watch.
Oh, okay.
Graduation watch was rectangular. So.
Okay. There we go. All right.
There you go. It wasn't a VIEREN.
It should have been though.
It should have been.
Yeah, I'm assuming kind of walking the fine line between like fashion and micro brand horology has, additional challenges, because people do want to say, no, they're a fashion brand. No, they're a micro brand or whatever. They want to compartmentalize you, and they want to label you. Have you guys gotten any weird kind of challenges from walking that fine line?
I think anytime you put yourself out there, there's going to be people that feel you are one way or the other. I think even when we were talking about the rectangular case shape, we're like, we wish it was longer, like, I wish it was smaller, but I think we are very intentional with what we do. It represents kind of what we stand for, and we're very comfortable with the direction that we're going, and hopefully people can see our authenticity and it resonates with them.
And I saw too, when I was doing some homework, the OG. So I'm assuming because that was your first VIEREN watch, like, but here is limited. So I'm assuming this is a revival, right, from your original. Is that?
So all of our timepieces are limited edition.
Okay.
With our OG automatic, we kept it only 100 each. Each one of them is numbered on the case back, really creating a collector's item.
Got it.
And then with the latest stereo collection, really amping that up a lot more. And they're actually special edition. There's only 5 of each of those.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean the Golden Waves is pretty cool. Yeah, I will say.
That's sick.
Yeah, our Golden Waves is our newest one. Really was inspired by vintage stereo systems, like the idea of music and sound bringing life to us. We love music, so when I designed that, I really wanted to have a sort of 3D representation of sound waves, inspiration from speakers, and just all these little details and ideas that I've had in the research, and really translating into a timepiece. I think it is sort of magical in the way it captures the light, and in every angle you are able to see the 3D waves, as well as see our atom movement behind our skeletonized dial and the rubies and gears, and it's really has all the sort of essence of music.
And then the bracelet too. I'm assuming that's something you guys also designed, or?
Yes.
Bracelets are challenging.
The bracelet is actually something that we get a lot of feedback on, saying that it feels like butter and they love it. We're really bringing back the traditional watchmaking, and we even actually custom designed the buckle.
Yeah. So we, for me, I really wanted to make sure that the the clasp, the little
Oh, wow.
component is
Very
more
nice.
mature, where it's actually hidden behind our bracelets, so it is more sleek and less pinchy.
Yeah. And does I guess Jess, when you popped yours off, it looks like it was. Does that sound like spring loaded? Did it? Did you guys? Or was
Oh
that just?
no, it's just the double deployment class.
Okay, okay, because that thing snapped off with confidence. I was like, dang.
Yes.
It's well made.
It's
Um, and something too. It looks like you guys are kind of experimenting with finishing too. So like, it's really hard to tell, but I mean, obviously, for the listeners, we have not at this moment gotten hands on with your watches yet. But it looks like you guys are having a satin case, but then you're using a high polish bracelet. Is that?
Yeah, I think we experiment with different textures for or finishes for different styles. Keeping kind of the modernist approach, we want things to kind of be tone on tone. So different ways of highlighting texture and creating different sheens and variants really create a lot more of that design detail that people look for, especially on a luxury timepiece.
Yeah, like for our gold mirror, we really wanted that high polish look. We had the dial high polish as even the case and the bracelet, and then explore.
Like a disco ball.
Yeah, and exploring sort of a different finish, like with the sun ray having that sort of sunburst dial, in combination, contrasted with the high polish, really sort of having that juxtaposition in that timepiece, and then exploring different finishes with waves where it's has a 3D dimension and also a different finish. So really like playing with texture and having that translate in our timepieces is really key for me, because I believe in subtlety as well, and I think finishes are part of that.
Very important. It's all these little details, different hues and tones and textures, and ultimately you're trying to convey all these minute details through these dials to essentially give it depth and character. So
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, I think you're right on track. It's in even just like the simplest little detail, ultimately, can convey a completely different thought in somebody's mind, to be like, wow, like they put the thought into that. Like that's really cool. That's really thoughtful.
Yeah.
I'm curious, and I know Blake probably is too. Do you guys have any upcoming, innovations or maybe new models that you guys are particularly excited about? And what can us, our audience, everybody expect to see from you guys in the near future?
Absolutely. We're always full of ideas. We're always at the idea board. It's really about focusing those ideas and making sure everything makes sense. It seems like, you blink and it's 5 years, and next year is actually our 5-year anniversary. So right now we're actually hard at work, kind of crafting our launch of, what is going to be kind of the next phase and next chapter really for VIEREN luxury watches.
I think we're going to be looking into sort of bringing forward our OG DNA forward a lot more, and then who knows if we're might try something new, not round yet, but really sort of take our next step in terms of that sort of luxury watch world. Like, what can we do next, and really trying to find those resources and playing around with those.
I'm curious too. So, as a fashion designer or just designer at this point, that whole industry is very collaborative. Is there a possibility for collaboration in the future lineups, or is this just something that you just want to carry on your own shoulders?
Yeah, we're definitely open to anything. Collaborations, of course, growing to VIEREN family, I think, across, and really able to showcase, our timepieces with different interpretations. Sunny's done a great job in building a base, and the sky's the limit in terms of how we want to continue to experiment.
And what does VIEREN mean to you personally? And so if you guys could say, what is your favorite from the brand, your brand, I know that's a hard one. We always ask designers this: who's their favorite child?
Yes.
So I'm putting you on the spot right here, right now.
My favorite will always be the first one. It's our matte white. That's where everything sort of flourished. It's the one that sort of brought everything else to life. It was our sort of blank canvas, and I will always love that piece because I think that was the first thing I designed. How do we put all the details in a timepiece that is very subtle and doesn't really, scream anything but opportunity and sort of ideas, and that's like that was the piece that sort of led to other ones, which is like, for instance, the Black Croc, having that sort of foundation and being able to play with materials and explore, and then with stereo just taking it a little bit further and a little further. I think without the matte white, none of this would be where we are right now.
What about you, Jess?
What does VIEREN mean to me? I always go back to kind of our brand motto, which is power your time. We're really about having people put on our timepieces and feel powerful. And I think the timepiece right now that I feel the most powerful in is really our latest Gold Waves watch. It's all gold and it has that 3D quality to it. Honestly, when I have the watch on, people across the room sometimes are like, what are you wearing on your wrist? Like, can I take a closer look? It's a great conversation starter, and I always feel great wearing it. Anytime I'm out, whether you're at a party, just going to the grocery store, anybody can feel better about their day and feel powerful. And so I think Gold Waves would be my answer right now.
Watches are a cool way of grounding you, like in the weirdest way. Like I always look at watches as not only timekeepers but time capsules.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look down at the watch that I wear and like be like, "Oh, I remember I did this or that, or I was here during this day or whatever." Um and watches are so weird like that. And to have something unique that still kind of pushes the boundary is definitely an accomplishment, I think. And before the podcast, obviously there's so many great brands out there that we have a hard time keeping up with, and I was very impressed before, before we scheduled this and came on. I thought that you guys are definitely have a cool product, a unique product, and yeah, I'm excited now to now be connected with you.
Nice.
And I've got a question for you guys, and sorry to interject. Hopefully we're probably getting towards the end of this. So what I've got so far is the first child is the favorite. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Just real quick though, where do you guys see yourself within the next 5 to 10 years? Kind of long term for the brand. You know, like any good business, you have to have some sort of strategy, some sort of planning. Um, what do you guys see VIEREN, doing? You still making waves in the market? Or are we going to transition into something else, or what do you think?
Yeah, we're really excited really for the next chapter. I mentioned before, this is really a bit of a legacy. It's a love letter from my family. And so being able to continue is something that's very important to us.
Mm-hmm.
I think being selective, starting small was something that was important to us and making sure that we were focused. But we're growing up now and we're ready to, share more of us to the world. And so we're hoping to, continue to expand within North America and, expand into other markets later this year as well.
Yeah. I think for us, we really wanted to sort of establish ourselves within these 5 years to sort of not be a flash in the pan. We really want to be able to like take our brand forward and explore more and design more and give people more of us. and that sort of same energy and watchmaking that I loved so much when I was a kid and just growing up with. So really, capturing that moment.
Yeah. I've been to so many watch shows and I've talked to so many micro brands, and they all have the exact same challenge, which is the uphill battle you guys are facing, getting your watches in front of the audience, you know? And and there, I mean, there has to be an emotional connection. Like people don't buy watches for logical people do not buy watches, right? Just crazy people like me and maybe
All of us.
Justin and all of us, right? Because obviously, I mean, there's no real need for a watch anymore, right? I mean, let's put it out there. You know, as a person who has 150 watches, can say, but you know that challenge is getting the watch in front of your audience and creating that emotional connection with your potential, you know, new owner, new collector. So how are you guys trying to combat that? Like, I want to see you guys at some of the watch shows here in America. You should work on that if you can. But yeah, I mean, I'm assuming how have you guys combated that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, we're in active conversations with different parties. You know, we were down in New York and in Chicago and San Francisco through Wind Up Watch Fair a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can kind of continue to build that community. Really, I think just getting in front of watch enthusiasts is the most fun part of our jobs, honestly, like being able to just feel the energy of people that are really passionate as much as we are about the category. So, you know, we're actively in pursuit. And so if there's any opportunities, please let us know.
Yeah. So when you guys went to Wind Up, were you just kind of like just exploring the space, or were you guys presenting?
We had our own booth. We met a lot of people there. We realized we are a special addition to the watch fair, and really having to meet the people who are enthusiasts come see our work was really nice to like get feedback and understand sort of where we stand.
Yeah, when I've been to pretty much every Wind Up for the past like few years now. When did you guys? Because I must have overlooked it. I mean, I'm just sorry.
You had the disco ball going. I thought we were like the Unmissable.
What? It depends on what year. It depends on what year you were. So
we were at New York the past 2 years, and then we were at Chicago and San Francisco as well.
For the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Yes, in New York.
I was in Chicago. I was in San Francisco for the past 2 years. I was just in San Francisco last a few months ago.
My boy literally put himself in the hot seat.
Well, yeah, I mean, give us a little sympathy because it's just me and Justin, and we have. I can't even like go through half of my emails like per day, like. And everybody wants to, in the weirdest way, you know, this is a new project for us. Lonely Wrist has been out for just over a year now. And yeah, everything's coming together so quick, and it's just me and Justin. And I've told a lot of people, I'm like, look, I'm not looking for new brands. Like, they have to find me. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, we have our own challenges. But you guys were in San Francisco this past...
No, that was 2 years ago. We were
okay. All right.
Not as bad.
Anytime, Blake.
We're having one right now, so it's great.
I know I'm having like a oh shit moment. Like I dropped the ball, the disco ball.
The only disco ball.
Yeah. We have been kind of experimenting with this kind of last concept. Obviously you guys are guests on our outlet. Thank you for coming on. But you know, we have trying this thing of turning our outlet over to you, right? For the end of the episode. For the people that made it, you know, obviously they're engaged, right? Is there anything, we touched a lot on design and inspiration and the future. Is there anything that you felt like we missed? You know, or wanted to say that we didn't hit?
I think you guys did a great job. Thank you so much for the conversation. Honestly, it's just been a pleasure chatting with you guys. I know Blake especially, but I'm curious about Justin as well. Just being rectangular watch fans, just curious to know from our collection which ones speak to you after you asked us to pick our favorites as well. So.
I was thinking the new stereo one, and not because it's the newest one. Like I said, I have a lot of ground in music. I've got drums, I've got records. If I could show you, I have a whole studio. Like I've got the big like Yamaha monitors and all this stuff.
Amazing.
It's just what I do. I've done it for a long time, and so as soon as I saw that, I was like, I love that because I don't see that very often in the watch industry where somebody takes something that's like music oriented. And it just I love the texture. I love it. It almost looks like a little water drop, like just how it comes out. But
Mhm.
for it to tie into like sound waves and like the stereos, it gives me like those like I don't know if that's like the correct era, but like that noir kind of like 40s 50s vibe.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I saw that, I was like, bet I love that. So I would say that's probably my favorite. But I love that you guys, you have like the leather faces and things like that as well. I think that each one is unique in its own way. And just like you said, it's like you can't really pick a favorite to an extent. Yeah, everybody has their own original one or their OG that holds a special place. But I think that you guys are doing a really good job about taking these designs and kind of putting a unique flair on each one of them. So, but if I had to pick a favorite, yeah, it's probably the stereo one.
Yeah.
My favorite doesn't exist yet. So,
Oh.
well,
Boo.
no, that sounded terrible. Sounded terrible. I have a bias, right?
Okay.
So your matte black, right, is DLC, right? So I just hate DLC. Like, I don't know what it is about DLC, but I have like this huge like bias against it. Like, I will not own a DLC. Like,
Interesting.
burn them all. Like, but I love the dial from the matte black, and I would love to see it in a steel case.
Oh, curious.
Okay.
But for that reason, I have to go with the matte white for now.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah. That's a good choice.
And
Man, I'm like, you're going down this rabbit hole. I'm like, man, come on, dude. Like, what else don't you like?
it came off like really terribly. I'm so sorry.
It means
But
it's
no,
the best way.
I mean, as a watch collector, and like I said, I have over 150 watches, and I mean, it seems like every day, Justin, I know you're getting new watches in. I'm getting new watches. Like last week, I had 25 or so different prototypes, different loaner watches, press watches, whatever you want to call it, gifts. And so as I've started Lonely Wrist, and I understand myself more as a collector, I think that's the big thing that came from this. Understanding ourselves as a collector, because there's watches that I've seen that I'm like, look, I love that. I just want to buy that, right? And that it just doesn't fully like make the rotation, Like, I don't have a 150 watch rotation. I have like a 10 watch rotation. So I probably really only should have like 10 watches.
Mhm.
But I made kind of these weird buying decisions where like I bought them for milestones in my life. So like I bought this during that time or this during that time. So how can I sell a milestone from my life? You know what I mean? I have a weird strategy as a collector.
You've got
And
a lot
yeah,
of milestones.
and so my rectangle watch uh um desire has been so weird. So like I was like Cartier Reverso. Like those are the only two, right? Like
Mhm.
icons, right? And so I bought the Reverso first, thinking like, cool, done. Got my rectangle watch, don't need another one. But no, it did not happen like that. and now I purchased a steel tank,
Mhm.
and then after I love the steel tank so much, then I purchased a gold tank,
Yeah.
and now I have a square watch here on loaner, like it's like It's like a little reverso esque. Is Vero? Have you ever heard of him? Vario? So it's got this weird little but anyways, so I find myself kind of going down the rectangle rabbit hole and looking for new watches. I've got a Bulova. So yeah, my love for rectangle watches has just spiraled in the weirdest way.
Oh, that's the beauty of collecting watches, right? Like it's fun and it should change like with your preferences over time. You know, you just hope you spend money on one that, you know, you can still wear later and later, you know. But I think as you continue to explore, hopefully we can get one of the VIERENs in your rotation as well.
Yeah. I find myself looking for, at this point, versatility.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that's what stuck out about the matte white. Because I have every color strap, you know, under the moon. And yeah, so I just find myself, you know, with a white or black dial, so I can use those crazy like light blue straps that I have, or like I have some pink straps. I have the weirdest strap portfolio, and so I found myself, if I just buy all 20 millimeter watches, then cool, I'll have a strap for everything. And white or black. So versatility is something that me as a watch collector I prioritize. And I don't see if this is this a 20 millimeter lug? What's the lug size on this?
Of course, inside 22.
Oh, 22.
22.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got 22s as well, so you're lucky there.
Perfect.
And it's only 10 millimeters, 9.2 millimeters. So that's nice.
Dope.
And then I guess this was also another challenge too, but having an automatic watch in that slim of a profile, like, how did you guys overcome that?
It took over almost 2 years to overcome, actually.
Good.
It looks like the case back helped you out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, when we first engineered the watch, with more traditional watchmaking, it was over 12 millimeters actually, and we went millimeter by millimeter to really slim it down. Being able to be a dress watch that you can still wear under your cuff and be beautifully set was important. And so, and we also wanted that gold ring to still, you know, be visible and be highlighted. So we were able to slim it down to 9.2 millimeters, which we're very proud of.
Yeah. Really wanted to have that the height of that rear hold ring be maintained, and everyone had to just engineer it and just shave everything off and get the smallest movement that would fit into our timepiece as well was very key.
Yes.
It's beautiful. I think that stands out. There's something about how matte the watch is, but still creating depth, but still because of the rehot, like, it's very cool. It's very cool. And yeah, like I said, I'm very impressed. And yeah, you guys are doing amazing stuff. So
thanks.
What else? I think that's all I've got. I mean, we can hang out now at this point, but
amazing.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Justin,
nice chatting with you guys.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you guys for coming on. As always, you know, we always appreciate you taking the time out of your days to come and spend with us. We try and be pretty genuine on this show. You guys seem like you were very genuine people, so we appreciate the genuine conversation. I'm sure that, you know, we're going to see some big and great things from you guys in the near future. We're very excited. But yeah. Yeah. But thank you guys for coming on. It was great to have you and finally meet you formally.
Absolutely. Well, please do keep in touch.
Yes.
You know, our website is vieren.co and our Instagram is VIEREN
we will plug all the socials.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, because obviously I'm looking at your website and I know your watches are beautiful, but I'm thinking probably they're 10 times more beautiful in reality. So yeah.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, wink, wink.
I know we were connected through Taylor, so we can chat. Maybe we'll get some watches over to you guys as well. You can see them.
Yeah, we
sounds
think it'd be
great.
cool too to so that was the reason why I picked up like my tank, you know, because I want a watch that I can wear, and then I want a watch that I can just throw over to my wife.
Mhm.
Exactly.
You know, like there's something as a watch collector like that to me was like the uncharted territory of like having a watch that we can both wear, that we can both share. Like what else out there? I mean, I certainly can't wear her dresses or her shoes. So
You could.
no, cannot do it. There's very few like things that have that crossover, right? And so yeah, I'm always looking at creating or finding something that, you know, her and I can share. And as a watch collector, I think that's very important, you know, sharing your passion with your significant other.
Mhm.
Um and there's not enough watches out there. Like, I mean, obviously, like she's not gonna wear like one of my sporty pilot's watches or anything. You know, she's just not gonna do it. So,
It's like the gateway watch, like.
yeah. So help me, help you. You know,
Right? The
'cause
black watch is perfect. You don't have to resize it. You can just wear the same one. It'll be great.
she doesn't even wear the she doesn't even wear some of the stuff that like I've got for that purpose. So, but she leans into the sportier side. So. But all right, we have just reached an hour now. This was a great episode. I am so glad that you guys came on. I'm so glad we connected.
Same.
Super excited. Like I said, I'm watching. Keep us also in the loop of future press releases, and we'll certainly distribute those, and we will see you, I'm sure. Are you guys coming to New York for the next wind up or anything?
No, we're just focused on our pop up this time. Really.
Because I think that's during October, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Vegas, so you could do a pop up in Vegas.
Perfect. Well, we're always planning things down in New York. I mean, it's where I was born. It's our kind of our second home, and so we'll definitely keep you guys in touch.
Cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Check out VIEREN online, and we will see everybody on the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye.